Hey everyone, today's episode is brought to you by the Michael Dolce 2019 Masterclass Tour.
Hi guys, Michael Dolce here to announce my Masterclass Tour for 2019. It has already kicked off and I'm looking forward to bringing it to a town near you. This particular time around, I'm dedicating the sessions to an open style topic. So basically, you guys as the players will dictate how the Masterclass will run. The classes are open for intermediate to advanced players, and as per usual, I always strive to make the classes non-intimidating. There's a whole heap of jam in. If you'd like some more information on the classes, please visit my website at www.michaeldolcemusic, and I hope to see you guys there. Cheers for now.
Hi there, you're listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. My name is Matt Wakeling, and this is the show I produce in Sydney, Australia, where I speak to leading guitarists and guitar figures from all around the world. Thank you so much for joining me. Now today we have a great show. We have, drumroll, Jennifer Batten, I know right, Jennifer Batten, Gretchen Menn and Nili Brosh. Three incredible musicians are joining me, and we have a fantastic conversation. Now these three musicians have a run of shows coming up where they're all on the same bill. Super cool, and we talk all about that. There's some great stories. We talk about each of their careers. It's a great guitar hang. So of course Jennifer Batten, guitarist with Michael Jackson, Jeff Beck, and a slew of solo albums. Nili Brosh, guitar player with Tony McAlpine, Cirque du Soleil. Again, great solo career, third solo album just about to come out. And Gretchen Menn, who is a great friend of this show. She's been on twice before. Again, wonderful solo career and a member of Zepparella. So a lot of great guitar between these three. The shows are going to be incredible. There's a couple of bonus sounds on today's show. We get to meet Elvis, Jennifer's dog. So if you listen carefully, he chimes in from time to time. Great to have him on the show. And the Skype line we spoke on was excellent from our respective connections, so the audio is really good, but there is a little bit where the Skype jumps. It does sound like Jennifer Batten and I are rapping. It's very cool. Look forward to that. But otherwise, it's a great conversation. Let's get straight to it. Jennifer Batten, Gretchen Menn, and Nili Brosh, welcome to all of you to the Guitar Speak podcast.
Gracias.
Thanks for having us.
This is all. I just got a chorus back. That's really cool. All three of you. All right. This is exciting. So we're here to principally talk about this bunch of run of gigs. You guys have the Batten Menn Brosh shows in California starting on November 6th, very soon. This is great. First question, I guess I'm wondering, how do you guys know each other? What's the connection between the three of you?
Oh, there's not that many women out there playing that are really into digging into another level of guitar. So I think most of us know everyone that's doing it. And we also did another podcast together a year or so ago. So that planted the seed to continue things.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And so this specific run of gigs, what pulled that together?
Well, Nili and I have we've been friends for a couple of years, or many years now, actually, and a couple, and
Feels like
yeah, exactly. Feels like yesterday. And we've talked about doing something together for a long time. I think, we really bonded over the idea of camaraderie over competition. And we were like, let's do some stuff together because we have such good vibes between the two of us. And this year, I think both of us sort of hit a place within our career that we were like, oh my gosh, we're so busy, but if we don't really carve out the time for, this music that's ours and that's instrumental and we just wanted it to happen. And so we talked about okay, what if we put some shows together? And we were like, well, let's get a third person. Who would that be? And we're both like, well, okay, first choice is Jennifer. So at least we got to ask her. So we never even got to the second choice.
Excellent. And it's such a good lineup because I guess as Jennifer said, you guys are all fierce guitar players, but you all bring something very different stylistically as well. You all rock, but then there's all these other angles which are really cool. Nili, I just saw your new track Primal Feels get released.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
That's very cool. So you can all shred, but there's that particular tune you're wailing over that. So I guess you're playing that on these gigs.
Yes, unfortunately. It's well, I think, some of the licks in that song, it's just like, the typical, like, why did I do this to myself? Why did I write this, in this tempo, for this song? But no, I mean, I do love playing that tune. So thank you.
Very cool.
Can I just say how validating it is to hear you say that, Nili? Because I think every time I run my set.
No, I feel like I always tell you that I feel like that all the time. Gretchen and I have this conversation a lot, actually, and it seems to be like that there's awe, from both sides, even though we've heard it all before. Like, we know that's how each other thinks, and yet we are still like, really?
We share our guitar pathologies.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, I heard the agreement from Jennifer and Gretchen as soon as you said that. Jennifer? What's your moment or moments of you've recorded this and now you've got to try and play it?
Giant Steps kicks my ass. I did this worked out tapping solo to John Coltrane's Giant Steps,
yes.
And
yeah,
it's an ass kicker. And then I would torture myself by either starting every clinic with that or Flight of the Bumblebee. And I will never forget one time I was in Germany in the winter time, and the backstage was pretty much a freezer. And I went straight from that to the heat of the stage and started one of the two. And at that moment, I thought, why do I do this to myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be it. I no longer play either of those.
And that's a happy ending.
Yeah,
that's one way around it.
Ending.
How about you, Gretchen? Especially your last record. I don't know if there's stuff on there that you didn't get to take out live, or what the story was there.
Oh, that one, gosh, I do want to do that live. Well, no, actually, I should say I feel it would be important for me to do that live. I'm terrified of doing it live. And the reason I'm not doing it live is because the other instruments on that record are so important that the idea of like, I mean, I totally understand like some stuff that is great and perfect for like, if you're going to play to tracks, but I'm like, the first violinist on the album is like as important as the guitar. So
yeah, sure.
I'm not going to not have that person on stage. So I'm not doing anything from that album, but I am doing some stuff from an upcoming album that I'm working on, as well as some stuff from Hail Souls, my first album. And all moments from it terrify me. So
I just thought of another thing that I did to myself that I only ever played once live. I have a solo piece called Whammy Damage, and it requires sitting down because I had a whammy pedal under each foot.
Oh, okay. I wondered how you did that. I wondered how that happened.
How did it happen?
Well, no, I've heard it, and I've wondered, how did she do that? I just assumed there was a lot of post-production, but you're actually just doing it with 2 feet. That's very cool.
Yeah, that was live, and doing it live was enough. I always say there's a last time for everything.
All right. So we've pretty much worked out what won't be in the show.
We're not playing anything this show. We're just going to hang out and talk.
Hang out.
It'll be kind of like this.
Yeah, well, this is good. I would come and see this too. So that's okay with me. So when you finish like hanging out, what does the show actually look like? Are you playing individual sets? There's talk of an encore. What does all that the logistics look like?
Yeah, we're all going to be playing sort of short sets with our individual stuff, and if people want more guitar at the end of it, which we're sort of on board to make sure they do, then we'll do some things together. But we've all promised that we're going to try to not play too much or require too much of the patience of people with endless encoring. So
sure.
And I'm going to break up their 2 sets in the middle with a solo multimedia show that I do where I play in sync with film. So it give people's ears and eyes a whole different thing to break it up in the middle. and then come together at the end with fireworks and backflips.
Exactly.
Neely was in Cirque du Soleil, so she took the
sure.
part as well. Yeah.
That's right. She is good to go for that.
Jennifer, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. Jennifer, yeah, you've been getting into video production more and more over the years. How does that work in your set?
Well, I have the audio tracks embedded in the film, and I just play the melodies and the solos on top of it and tell stories in between. And I have found a bonus that I didn't expect is that I can have even little kids at the show, kids that wouldn't have the patience for, generally I do a 60 or 90-minute solo show, and kids would be falling asleep or complaining, but they're sitting there watching the whole thing because of the imagery that goes along with the whole thing. And after I played with Jeff Beck and Michael Jackson, I thought, well, that's my bucket list, and I'm not dead, so what's next? And I started thinking the trauma it takes to put a band together and how fast you can lose money on the road if you don't get enough people showing up. And I thought, man, there's got to be a way I can take my own music out on the road as a solo act, at least to start. And I really like doing it. I got a good response, so I've been doing it for a good 10 years now. And even when I'm on a band tour, if there's certain dates that can't be booked because the venues don't have enough for a band, I can always, fly to Spain for a day if I'm already over in Europe and do my solo show. So it's worked out well.
That sounds awesome. That sounds so good. Gretchen, will you have your trio?
I will, yeah. Thomas Perry on drums and Anna Pfeiffer on bass, both wonderful musicians, beautiful people, and we're going to have a blast.
Nice. And Nili, what does your set look like?
Well, I will also have my band there. There are two guys that I actually went to Berkeley with, Ellie Marcus on bass and Alon Maytal on guitar, and then our friend Ray Rojo on drums. We've they've been my band for my solo stuff for a while now, and we got lucky, all being friends like individually as well, and they like my music enough to continue playing it, I guess. So it's a great opportunity for us to come together.
Awesome, man. That's so cool. Do you have the dancers from the video? That's the next level.
I don't have the budget for that.
Next tour. That was cool. I don't think I've seen dancers in an instrumental rock video ever, and it was so killer. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. I know, I'm sure that a bunch of people were just kind of like, she went crazy. What is this? But when it all happened too, it was right in the middle of my time at Cirque du Soleil doing the Michael Jackson show, and it seemed so natural to me, and I was kind of immersed in that world. It didn't even seem that foreign because I was doing that same thing with them on stage, just to Dirty Diana, you know what I mean? So yeah. I kind of and being a kid who grew up in the 90s and watched a lot of MTV and boy bandy kind of stuff, I kind of wanted that pop video sort of feel for whenever I make my first music video. So somehow I wanted to wait for the right song, and I think it worked out with this one. So I'm happy about it for sure.
Well done. Have you and Jennifer, you guys swapped notes about playing Michael Jackson tunes?
No.
That'll be backstage on this tour. Oh, I thought it went that way. Wait a minute, I've been playing it wrong for 30 years.
Oh, that's funny. I see Michael Melendez's name is tagged onto this event as well. At the event supported by the Guardians of Guitar.
Yeah, that's right. He's been a big supporter of all of us and has started this new venture, Guardians of Guitar. And when I told him that we were doing this whole thing, he was like, well, let me help any way I can. So he's been good to all of us, I think.
Yeah, he's been an angel, and he's been very supportive of women. And for people that don't know, he edited Guitar Player magazine for 27 years. So he's been very helpful.
Yeah, he's a wonderful person. He also did he came to me with the concept and the libretto for the last album I did. So he was a huge part of that. So yeah, wonderful person.
Nili, you mentioned going to Berkeley. Now, all three of you have studied extensively at some stage. Jennifer was in one of the early GIT classes. Gretchen, I know you've done in recent years lots of private study with composers and arrangers. Between the three of you, what do you think that has brought to your playing?
God, for me, I can guarantee I would not have gotten the Michael Jackson gig or the Jeff Beck gig without having had that education and all the various tools that it got me into, especially how to listen and write music. There's just no way. I'd probably be working at Burger King still. Still, yeah. Oh, I'm a 3-year vet, girls.
Oh my gosh.
Still trying to get those toxins out of my brain.
Nili, how about you? Tell me about Berkeley.
For me, like one of my favorite things about it was just the fact that there's so many international kids from everywhere, and I knew that I would be immersed in a bunch of different styles because I was a little concerned that I probably wouldn't do that sort of research on, by myself. So I wanted to be in an environment that kind of threw me into that. And I just thought that was like, the coolest thing, like a bunch of people with different takes and different styles and influences and everything. And, I couldn't think of another place at that time where I would be around something like that.
Awesome. And Gretchen, particularly I'm thinking of the recent stuff you did leading up to Abandon All Hope. And what did that leave you with?
Well, I have an undergraduate degree in music. That's what I went to college for. And I think what I'm glad about, the steps that I took to getting sort of some musical education is that I think early on it just demystifies something that I think especially amongst guitar players can be almost a taboo subject. I mean, I think you have, those people like Nili and Jennifer who really, really
Gretchen
know their material. But then I've also worked with a lot of sometimes fantastic musicians who are so kind of unrealistically intimidated by anything that even kind of smacks of music theory. But then they come up with these systems of kind of navigating, not knowing it, that are so much more complex than just sitting down and learning it. And so if there's anything I'm grateful about my music education for is just it's just shedding the intimidation and just knowing if I don't know something, the information's out there if I just find it and work hard. So when it came time to do something that I knew needed to be that required more compositional chops than I had at my ready disposal, it just was like, okay, let me get some books, let me get a teacher, let me find everything I can, and let me just get the skills that I need to try to do what I'm doing.
Jennifer, there's a quote from 1989 from a guitar player interview with Joe Gore, who I love. I think is such a great writer. This is the quote, and I'll read it, and then I'd like you guys to respond. So Joe asks Jennifer, he says, "Why do you think there are so few prominent women guitarists?" And Jennifer's reply is, and I quote, "It's partly because there is no precedent," unquote. Mm-hmm. So that's like 30 years ago. I'll start with Jennifer. What's your take on that now, 30 years later?
Well, thanks to the internet, women around the world can see each other and be encouraged by what they see. And I tell people nowadays, there's not a month that goes by that I don't see some 7-year-old girl in Thailand that can kick my ass.
I love it when people send me videos like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the video. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so jealous, man. I mean, the resources when I was coming up was the local music store, the Mel Bay book, and various music books that were just, I mean, looking back now, they were pretty lame. It was long before Guitar for the Practicing Musician, which was one of the first guitar magazines that came out with some really in-depth, extensive solos that people had done, written down accurately. Yeah. So it's wonderful what's happening now. The resources are, you just hear about a guitar player, and while you're on the phone talking to somebody about it, you can download their CD and bring up a YouTube video. There's software that will allow you to take that video and slow it down and loop one bar if you want to. That's just incredible.
For Nili and Gretchen, there was a precedent. Jennifer Batten was the precedent for the rock star female guitarist. What's been your experience growing up in, slightly later generations of players?
You want to go first, Gretchen?
Sure. Well, I think for me, I have a really great dad, so I've always had, great, equal opportunity friendships. I've had guy friends, girlfriends, whatever. I didn't really think twice about, it didn't really occur to me that a lot of my heroes were guys until I saw an old issue of Guitar Player magazine with Jennifer on the cover and was like, and I remember going to my dad and being like, who is this? And he's like, oh yeah, she's amazing. And, and I'm like, went through the interview, and I think that was when Jennifer, is that the one where Flight of the Bumblebee was transcribed? Yeah. And I remember like I had been playing guitar for like a week and I tried to do it. But it was always like, for me growing up, where a lot of people were still like saying very like without thinking twice, something I won't say on the air, and I would play Flight of the Bumblebee and I'd just sort of be like, so now what? And they'd be like, okay, never mind. So I loved having that, not because I had any qualms about, the vast majority of my heroes being dudes, like whatever, it's fine. Guitar player's guitar player, right? But that I always had somebody that I could kind of end a conversation, end a stupid conversation with.
Yeah. Well, the playing is the ultimate conversation closer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Yeah.
That's it. Guitar drop. How about you, Nili? Yeah. How about you, Nili, growing up in Israel and then moving to the States? I think you were around 12 or so. What was the guitar environment for you?
Wow, you know my whole history. I mean, I grew up, I have 3 older brothers, so I'm kind of in a similar boat to Gretchen in the sense that like I didn't notice the gender thing really, because it's just,
that's great.
That was natural to me, like, and I never really thought like, oh, I'm a female guitar player. To me it was just kind of like, oh, I like, I guess not a lot of girls are into it, but it wasn't even that weird to me because growing up in Israel, like everything that I was doing was considered very tomboyish. It was the same with sports in our culture. It's like, boys play soccer and girls, I don't know, sit around and like do each other's nails or something, So I was always like made fun of for that anyway. And, I was kind of used to like, like being into stuff that other kids maybe weren't into, but I never really thought about it as like, well, like, girls don't like this or whatever. But I do, like, I have to say, like, at least in my case, like people have been really mostly pretty cool, but when I was growing up, and like kind of learning about shredders and that kind of thing, it was always just kind of like, oh, there's all these guys, and there is Jennifer Batten, who we all know is amazing. But I don't know why there's just this one girl, but like it was always like, it was not forgotten. You know what I mean? It was just more with the people that I've spoken to over my life, it just always kind of felt like they're as perplexed as we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm happy to say I've had a good experience mostly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know what? It just triggered a memory. It was actually Guitar Player magazine many, many years ago had an article on why there weren't more women playing. And I will never forget of the bogus list of reasons. One of them was, well, something like when they get pregnant and play an Ovation.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Yeah, we're always getting pregnant and then the guitar's too far away.
Wow.
I was going to practice today, but then I got pregnant.
Yeah. Again.
Oh
my God.
This was Guitar Player magazine?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
Oh my God, I got to give somebody crap about that.
Can you talk to your people, Gretchen?
Yeah.
Well,
That's crazy. Hopefully it's in jest
either
or
Michael
just
Melender
stupid.
or I got something to say to somebody about that.
That was way before Michael's time.
Also, I got to talk to my dad.
Talk to your dad. Talk to Don.
I guarantee already he's gonna blame somebody else if he was there.
Okay. Man, I just hope that's a really bad joke. But just getting back to the original quote from Jennifer though, would you agree then that the landscape has changed and for the better?
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's so many women I keep hearing about that are great. Just killing it, whether it's from Bulgaria or Venezuela, just all around the world. There's amazing players that are popping out left and right. Yeah. It's very healthy right now.
Yeah, cool. I almost felt silly bringing it up, but because there's Jennifer's quote and because I am talking to Jennifer Batten, which is pretty amazing, I thought I would. But the fact that Nili and Gretchen, it's not a big deal in your story, and for some crazy reason it used for generate players. That's awesome. The fact that it feels like it's not a burden, not a burden. I don't know. I'm going to do some editing, but the fact that it doesn't seem like a big deal is awesome. I've got kids in school. I've got 2 daughters, and they're almost 14, and one of them's really into science and maths and technology. And for some reason, I don't know why, the universities don't have many girls applying. So there's a big push at the moment, and that's all she wants to do. And I think it's awesome they're encouraging her. But I just think, why is that there in the first place? I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not a question. That's just jargon.
You know what? Getting pregnant,
Maybe they think they'll get. Yeah, true. That could happen.
You know what? I actually, growing up, I didn't think it was a big deal or anything different for a woman to be playing guitar, especially being interested in lead, until my first day at the Guitar Institute of Technology. I found I was the only woman.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was like, okay, I guess we're a little off balance here.
Yeah.
That's why you had the bathroom to yourself, right?
Yeah, the reverb.
The reverb.
I always tell people about that one.
I remember that quote too. I do. Let's move on. Let's talk guitars. Who's playing what? Gretchen, what's your rig going to be like for these shows?
I've got my Music Man Silhouette Special, which is like my main guitar. I'll probably bring my Cutlass as a backup, but if all goes well, I will be playing the Music Man, I think the whole set. And then I've got a two rock Bloomfield Drive that I'll be playing for my amp. And then I don't really use all that much in the way of pedals. I probably should use more, but I have a Providence Chrono Delay, a chorus that I use in like one moment of the set, and a boost pedal and a tuner.
Yeah. Cool. Sounds great. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Hey, the Silhouette, is that your first one? Because you've got a couple, I know.
You are so well researched. My first Silhouette, no, that one hides out in my closet. It's a Blue Burst. That's the one that the video for Valentino's Victory Lap that you can see it in that. And after, I guess, Music Man saw that video, they're like, she needs a new Silhouette. And so they sent me this white one with a black pick guard that became my number one after that. It's all Music Man guitars I love. This one, it has a particularly fantastic feel and sound and mojo. So that's now my main one.
Cool. How about you, Jennifer? From what I gather, you pack pretty light these days.
I am always dreaming of equipment that's smaller and lighter. Well, for this tour, I have been in between rigs for the better part of a year now. And the one I'm going to take is one I've been using for the last 3 years, which is the Thomas Blue Guitar Amp 1, which essentially is the size of a floor pedal, but it's essentially a 100-watt vintage Marshall with 4 channels. So once I found I could bring a wonderful sounding analog amp in my purse, that was it. It changed my life for travel. And I'm going to be using a Digitech RP1000 because there's some sounds in it from my solo show I just cannot get with my system I'm trying to cross over into, which is using the Line 6 Stomp, which is a very versatile sound effects pedal. And plus, I mean, the main thing, I am guaranteed to get deeper into that because it's 2.7 pounds.
Nice.
As opposed to the Digitech, which is 13, and I've been carting that all over the world for years and paying excess luggage charges and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it's basically those two things and a volume pedal. All the effects. Actually, I have added a new effect recently that I'm pretty excited about. It's TC Helicon's talk box pedal, which is really fantastic, because taking a real talk box, it's just a tank and it's never going to go in a suitcase.
Oh, for sure.
So this is the next best thing, and it just adds a whole other element. And then I'm using a Washburn Parallax guitar for the last couple of years, which is the first 24 fret guitar I've ever played. So it took a minute to get used to it, but I've been real lucky with Washburns. I'm always leery when I get a new one, but it just fits like a glove. I'm very used to it, and I dig it.
That's cool. You're doing some guitar synthesis at different seasons in your career. Are you still getting into that stuff?
Yeah, I was using the Fishman Triple Play wireless MIDI system for several years, and now they have a brand new one it's a wired system that goes to iPad. But I'm not ready to break that out just yet. That's going to take a few more months of diving in before I put it on stage.
Okay, sure. And that's your rig, just front of house, off you go.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's got to be compact to travel. And like the last, I don't know how many years, the last few decades, 99% of my work required jumping on a plane. So yeah. I'm all about compact.
Yeah, sure. Nili, you own about 700 Ibanez guitars. What are you taking out?
Probably it's gonna be my my white Prestige OG 1527. I've had it for since 2012, and I think it was discontinued right around then. And it's that's my workhorse guitar. Probably I will bring the RG 550 as well, the Desert Sun Yellow that I can't seem to be without recently. But we'll see. I mean, definitely I'll need a 7-string for the bulk of the songs on this set anyway. So that kind of narrows it down. And then as far as the rig goes, I mean, I'm kind of like starting to lean more towards Jennifer's ideals with the with the compactness thing. So I'm actually going to be using the Headrush pedal board going through to the house, and my other guitar player will as well. I've been using it for a few years on not every gig, but on a lot of things. It was really just a great, convenient solution that sounded amazing, and I have like a signature set of tones that I created with them. So I feel comfortable with the patches that I'm bringing out, and I know what I'm going to get, so that's been working well for, the situations where who wants to carry more stuff.
Yeah. So, I'm with you. So for Nili and Jennifer, when you're doing direct rigs, are you guys running in-ears, or are you still cranking guitars back through monitors?
I'm still going through monitors mostly.
Yeah, I'm not going direct. I actually, the Blue Guitar Company has a really fantastic direct box. It's actually a speaker emulator that has 16 different impulse response speakers, and I've been recording with that the last year or two, and I just love it. I've just got rid of all of my mics, but for live shows, I bring it along for emergencies, because sometimes I show up to a gig and they go, "Oh, you need a speaker?" They didn't read the rider, so yeah, I can bust that out and know I can get a decent sound going direct. But I still prefer to have a speaker, and I recently have gotten into the Audix company. I did a show last summer, and I was using in-ears, and It sounded particularly good because I don't really like the guitar sound coming straight into my ears without any ambience. And they had the Audix i5 on it, and I thought, holy crap. So I immediately called Audix, and now I'm taking that mic with me everywhere.
Okay. So is that capturing part of the room as well before you get it in your ears? What's the story with that system?
Well, I'm really experimenting a lot. I put that directly on the speaker cone, but I have been adding an ambient mic to try to help make it more natural.
Okay. Yep.
But I'm kind of in between. I can't just listen to a band because my ears are too trash and I can't handle the volume anymore. So I have to go in-ears, but I hate in-ears. It's a slice of hell over here in Battenville.
Awesome. Well, you're working through it. That's the main thing there.
Trying, yeah, experimenting forever.
Yeah. Very cool. Now, what's the future look like? You've got a run of 3 gigs. Gretchen, you mentioned in some of your earlier emails you'd love to extend that depending on how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I would love that if it works out. It kind of took an act of God to get the 3 of our schedules together, but if we have fun doing it and if people dig it, then yeah, I mean, I think we've had some offers and some interest elsewhere, so it's a question of lining up calendars and seeing how it all pans out.
Yeah, awesome. Man, I hope it goes really great, and I hope you just keep running these gigs and you get to Sydney eventually. That would be ideal.
Just start yelling at people at venues.
Exactly.
Okay, we can do that.
There you go.
Excellent. Hey, before we finish up, can we do a quick roundtable to talk about the next stuff for you guys as individual artists as well? Gretchen, you just did some videos for Damasio, which were really cool, and you alluded to the fact that your next record will be more of a solo guitar deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One, I like to mix things up. I seem to have an inability to stay in a lane, which means that like I'm always flailing, trying to figure out the next thing that I'm going to do and try to figure out how to do it. But after doing Abandon All Hope, which I love doing and I learned so much in the process, I always then want like a contrast or a shift. So I thought, well, what if I try to take what I learned compositionally and now go back kind of to my home instrument and see what I can do with that. And then from just a pragmatic standpoint, I'm like, this will be much easier to tour with if I have an album of solo guitar pieces. Exactly. So I'm working on that, but I'm also working on some more compositional orchestrated stuff as part 2 of the Dante theme.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. That's cool. The thing I loved about the little excerpt on the Damasio tune, you're doing some really cool sonic stuff as well as the compositional stuff. So there's lots of great soundscape players and there's lots of great fingerstyle players, but that piece, I think it's called Venice, you're sort of merging a bit of both to my ears.
Yeah, I'm actually I decided just last night that I think I'll do at least that little bit of it. I'm not going to do the whole thing yet until the album's released, but I'm going to do that little bit of it, I think, in this series of shows as sort of part of I'm doing like a very quiet solo guitar section,
cool.
Just thinking of bringing different things to a night that's going to have a lot of guitar, but an instrument that does have an incredible amount of variety too. So
nice. Very cool. Jennifer, the last record I saw from you was the BattleZone album, which I loved hearing you in a vocal context. That was cool too, hearing you in a band sort of thing. Are you doing any more of that, or what does the next year also look like for you?
You know what? Honestly, I am super burnt from international travel, and so I'm making a huge effort to make my living in the Northwest, or at least in the same time zone that I'm in. So I launched a band in the Northwest last summer, and I'm also really digging into my solo show to be able to do solo shows in the Northwest. I'm getting new material together to see how it will fit in various venues. So that's my focus right now, and also doing more DVDs for the true fire dom lesson me.
Awesome.
So pretty much all my hour right there.
You're done. That sounds good. Good plan. Damn. And what's the deal with your stuff? So I assume Primal Feels is part of a bigger project you're putting together?
Yeah, so I have a new album coming out that should be out in December. It's called Spectrum, and it's a concept album. It's literally like a spectrum of genres fusing from one to the next throughout the record. So you're kind of starting in one place and ending up in a totally different place. And hopefully, if it works, you should be able to sequence the songs in reverse and achieve the same effect if you want. But that has yet to have been tested, so we'll see. But actually, Gretchen played on one of the songs. There's a song called Andalusian Fantasy that I wrote with her in mind to play on it. So she did a great job. We both, I played a nylon string and she played a nylon string electric. And, I basically had to teach myself whatever hacky kind of finger picking technique I could pick up well enough just to, record these tunes so that I don't feel like I'm phoning it in, So, but yeah,
Interjection. Her playing is amazing.
Oh, stop
on it.
No.
I've heard it. I've heard your track isolated. It sounds amazing.
Thank you. The little known story is when I was recording that, I was living in a residence where there were some parrots. Very loud ass parrots. Like I can't describe it. Like it cannot be described. There's a video that describes it pretty well. But when I was doing nylon string recordings, it was just a particular challenge because I had to do twice as many takes just to make sure that I have enough to comp from takes that don't have like like in the middle of all the strings.
Yeah.
So it was. It was
just be part of the soundscape.
Oh my God, it was. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't get my breathing out of it, So the birds definitely were not going to happen. But...
Oh, yeah. That's cool. That's heaps good, man. Between the three of you, there's so much good stuff going on, and of course, the three shows. So I should run the dates. November 6th at the Chapel in San Francisco. November 8th at the Malibu Guitar Festival. That looks like an amazing show. And November the 9th at the Miners Foundry at Nevada City, California. Mm-hmm. Did I pronounce those places okay?
Yeah, those are great.
Okay, good news. Well, hey, so much fun talking to you guys about this. I don't know how I'm going to go back to interviewing one person at a time. That's...
Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. I'm really excited about it and lovely to talk with you.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you all so much. All right, there you go. That was so fun. My great thanks to Jennifer, Gretchen, Nili, and Elvis for coming on the show. Now, if you're in the California area, those shows are coming up very, very soon. If you check out the links in our show notes, that'll get you to all the places you need to go to buy some tickets. Now, if you enjoyed this interview, and who wouldn't, why not share it on your social media? That would be awesome. Otherwise, I'm out of here. My name is Matt Wakeling. You've been listening to the Guitar Speak podcast, and I'll catch you next time. Bye now.